Coming up this week on Sporting Journal Radio.
Fish will get around that structure, whether it be concrete or natural rock or stumps.
And we pulled crankbaits off of planer boards for crappies.
In order to be successful, you have to have belly-to-belly time with those content creators.
Broadcasting on the Sporting Journal Radio Network, wherever you get your podcasts or watch on YouTube.
Fish on right now.
Well, we're here at the 2024 Pheasant Fest and Quail Classic, presented by OnX. Know where you stand with OnX. And our guest now is Jeremy Smith. I fish, I hunt, and always will.
It's just to look out for your everyday hunter, angler, and trapper that's out there.
A Fish Hunt Forever production. This is Sporting Journal Radio.
Welcome to Sporting Journal Radio. I'm Bret Amundsen. That's Dan Amundsen over there. What's up, man?
About ready for a beer.
Yeah.
It's it's about 5-6 o'clock here. So for those in the afternoon. So for those listening on the radio,
that's right.
It's at 6 a.m. on a Saturday.
It's not 6 a.m. when we're recording this.
No, but maybe you're watching this on the Spotify. Guess what? You can do that now.
Oh yeah, that's right. We added video.
Yep.
Right, you added video to Spotify.
So you can watch podcasts on Spotify.
There you go. Or on YouTube. Yeah. Thank you very much. We got a really cool show. As you can see, we're outside the studio. We're down here at Kentucky Lake. And Dan, I'm seeing squirrels all over the place right here, which has got to be driving you crazy based on how your morning went today.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more about that here in just a second. We had just a great time down here at Kentucky Lake. So far, we're halfway through the AGLOW conference. I fished Kentucky Lake with Brandon Hunter today. He's a guide down here. He's been a tournament angler for a number of years. We'll have him on the show coming up later today. We also have Kevin Paulson coming up, the new executive director of AGLOW.
Yeah.
Taking over from Mark Smith, and Mark has been a valued member of AGLOW, and he's going to continue to stay on the board, but Mark's been executive director for a long, long time, and he's finally stepping down. He overstated, well, I don't want to say he overstayed his welcome, but he overstayed his expected time as executive director, and now Kevin Paulson from Hunting Life is going to join. Who is Kevin Paulson? If you don't know, we're going to find out, learn a little bit about hunting life, and talk about his vision for AGLOW coming up this week. And Joe Henry's down here with us, of course.
Of course. We can't do a radio show without Joe Henry.
That's right. He's going to give us a fishing report from the Rainy River, talking about shiners and more about Lake of the Woods coming up. But first, Dan, the sponsors on this week's show are?
The official truck sponsor of Fish Hunt Forever is Inver Grove Toyota. When looking for your new rig, head to Inver Grove Toyota. Lake of the Woods Tourism. Lake of the Woods is the walleye capital of the world. Plan a trip for this fall or winter at lakeofthewoodsmn.com. On X Hunt, see private land boundaries, recent imagery, offline maps, and Minnesota-specific hunt layers. Download the OnX Hunt app today. Tasman Lake Lodge. Catch world record lake trout and giant pike at Saskatchewan's Tasman Lake. Learn more at tasmanlake.com. Devil's Lake, North Dakota. Catch it all at Devil's Lake. Prairie Sportsman, new season wrapped up this spring, but we are filming new episodes right now, and you can watch old episodes anytime at the Prairie Sportsman YouTube channel. Haybale Heights Campground and Resort, fish Devil's Lake this fall or winter. Learn more at haybaleHeights.com. And Guardian Eagle Resort, plan a trip for next summer. Go fish the Ontario waters of Guardian Eagle Resort. You can fly directly to the lodge from the Twin Cities. Learn more at guardianeagle.com.
So we've been down here in Kentucky all week, but before we came down here on Saturday, it was the Waterfowl opener back in Minnesota.
Yep.
It's a good time.
Yep. Always a good time to do that. I had family and some friends come out. Shot some ducks. Sat in the blind spot outdoors blind that we stubbled up and made look real pretty.
In 90-degree weather.
Yep. Shot some. We actually had a cool mixed bag for an opening morning.
Yeah, I still feel like it was too early.
Oh, 100%.
But that being said, there were a lot of, I'm not going to say there were a ton of ducks around, but there were like a mixture of different ducks around.
Yep. So we shot blue wings, of course. We shot wood ducks, which is pretty common. We had a green wing sneak in on us. Mm-hmm. I actually feel like we saw more green wings. I think we whiffed on a big flock of green wings.
I just filmed it, so I have the video evidence.
Yep.
I didn't shoot.
And there were a lot of mallards around, and mallards are always fun to shoot, but like we've talked about, the disappointment with them, we went to pluck some. You know, the teal are the blue wings especially, are really fatty, so we were plucking all the feathers off, and we just breasted them out but left the skin on. That skin's so good to cook with, and trying to do that with mallards right now is next to impossible. There's just way too many pin feathers, so it's fun to hunt them, it's fun to shoot them. I'd take a mallard over just about any duck any day, but a little disappointing there. But we had pintails too. Yeah. We shot, I should say, we shot one pintail.
One pintail.
But then Sunday there were some canvasbacks and that slew too. So pretty cool that we had that variety on opening day, where normally so many hunters just get a pile of blue-winged teal.
I was surprised that we didn't hear more shooting Saturday morning, but there were some guys hunting near us that we heard banging. But we didn't hear some friends of ours that were hunting pretty close to us. So it might have just been a case of the wind and us not being able to hear some of the shots.
And we also didn't hear anybody shoot early. So that was pretty impressive. It's like the first time ever.
Yeah, that was good.
Good job, Minnesota.
So waterfowl season's underway. We want to make duck season late again. Don't forget you can win a shirt from Sporting Journal Radio, paid for by Minnesota Hunters for an October opener. They're only $20 at sportingjournalradio.com. Just click on store, or if you watch this, you can win one as well. You gotta enter your email though at sportingjournalradio.com, and then watch this YouTube video on the link on the contest form, and you could win yourself for sure. We'll probably give away a few shirts, so feel free to enter.
It's your money, man.
We'll get a bunch of people entered into that, and you can win it. But that being said, it was a waterfowl opener. It's a tradition. We had to go do it.
You have to go.
And so we did it anyway. But now, depending on where you are in the state or in the surrounding states, you might have splits. You might be opening up. Make sure you check your regs and know what the rules are before you go out there and go hunting. And some other things going.
Well, I was just going to say, speaking of this late opener thing, it was kind of interesting. I was talking to Mark Smith a couple days ago, actually, and he lives in Indiana, and so he was asking what trips we had coming up. I said, well, we're going to Canada right after this conference. And he's like, oh, well, then I suppose you'll be up there for a couple weeks. You'll get home just in time for when your season will start, right?
Yeah,
it's like, well, actually, it'll be open for about a month by then. So, like, people outside of Minnesota are shocked our season is opening so early. Kind of interesting.
I learned something pretty interesting today, too. There were a bunch of Learn It, Do It sessions here. Today was the Learn It, Do It session day at the AGLOW conference, and that meant that there was a squirrel cleaning and squirrel cooking seminar. You could learn how to clean squirrels since you guys went and hunted them today. And then there was a session on AI that we'll talk a little bit more about later in this show right here. There goes Dustin Sanchez with a couple of his JP rifles right there. He was teaching people how to care for your AR. Trent Marsh was talking about how to mount scopes. Hey, Dustin. Hi.
You're on the radio.
We're talking about you on the radio.
Awesome. I was about to just come and jump in just to say hi anyway.
Well, come on down if you want to. We learned about a number of different things today, and I completely got sidetracked about where I was going with this, but it's, there was some guides here at Kentucky Lake, some duck hunting guides that came and talked about their guide service, and you know what they guide? You know how they guide out here?
Layout boats.
Layout boats.
I could understand that because this is long but big water.
Yeah.
There's not really, you can get into the creeks, I suppose. Otherwise, this is just a channel. There's not a point. There's not really any bays.
Well, and there's some.
A few, but it's not like a lake in Minnesota.
Well, when we fished today out there, I fished with Brandon Hunter. We bass fished out there, and there was one little bay that was full of Canada geese, which was kind of cool. And one of the guides in this Kentucky Lake duck hunting service talked about, he's like, I used to go out and hunt the fields and hunt mallards and all that. And then I learned about all the divers we got here, and they got piles of golden eyes. Does that sound like them a little bit?
No, I just think it's funny that a guy's talking about going divers. Yeah, that's a weird transition.
Doing the layout boat deal is kind of fun. So, all right, Dustin, jump in here real quick. We just got a couple minutes here real quick, so you might as well come say hi. Dustin Sanchez, there you go, joining us right now. Guys? Real Avid and JP and and competitive shooting. What's up, man?
Nothing. Just wanted to come hang out with all the cool people this year. I missed out last year, unfortunately, and having a lot of cool stuff with Real Avid, of course. Every year we're coming out with. I thought you were handing me something. No, every year we're coming out with more tools, more cleaning supplies, whether you're building, cleaning, modifying any of your firearms. So we want to show off all that stuff, and then this was the first year able to get JP rifles out here, and. For those guys, this is they're making a bigger push getting into more hunting. So I brought my 20-inch AR-15 out here. That's perfect setup to get out there and do some long-range shooting, whether you're going to be going for some coyotes, some hogs, anything like that. So
you had some crazy guns here this week. It was really cool.
Yeah, it's cool because I had my 22 in a chassis, which is good, and then I had my JP5, which is like an MP5 variant for 9mm.
Yeah.
That gun is a blast to run. You throw some Glock mags in there full of 9mm and go have a good time. And of course, like I said, my 20-inch. So yeah.
Yeah, well, it was real cool. All right, we'll let you get back. I know you're packing up. But we had Dustin on a couple years ago talking about what happened in Minneapolis around 2020, sometime around there.
Pretty wild.
He had some crazy stories. So go back and listen to our podcast with Dustin Sanchez, or watch the video on our Sporting Journal Radio YouTube channel to learn a little bit more about what he went through. And he told us some more stuff that happened after that. That was a pretty wild time living in downtown Minneapolis. Cool dude, man. And like the amount of rounds he shoots in a week.
It was like trying to average like 2,000 or something, or 1,000.
Oh, I think it was like 50,000 or something like that. I think. Well, I can't remember what the actual number was, but it was a lot in any case. So cool dude. We'll have him on the show again here soon. Maybe even a Prairie Sportsman episode.
Maybe so.
I think so. I think that'd be cool. We do have a new season of Prairie Sportsman starting up in January. We filmed some really cool stuff around Minnesota. And one thing we want to mention about it, I got my Prairie Sportsman shirt on today because I wanted to talk about something that's going to be on the ballot. All right? I'm not going to talk about political parties, but I want to talk about the Environment and Natural Resources Trust Fund. And that is like $70, $80 million a year that goes to the environment in Minnesota. It's an important cause, and it's managed by LCCMR, the Legislative Citizen Commission on Minnesota Resources. And that started up about 30 years ago, I think it was, something like that. And it's up again for a vote. So you need to check the box to reinstate the Environment and Natural Resource Trust Fund. Where that money comes from is lottery ticket sales. So if you go out there and buy a lottery ticket, a portion of the proceeds goes to the environment in Minnesota. It's one of the best things Minnesota has ever done. It also is a big funder for Prairie Sportsman, full disclosure, so I'm a little partial to it. I like it, but it's funded a lot of great projects regarding hunting and fishing in the outdoors in Minnesota. So you can learn more about it online, you can find it, or don't forget, and if you don't check that box, it counts as a no vote, and then that money, if it doesn't pass, that money goes to the general fund. So that money is still going to be out there. I don't know how to turn this off.
You go from that money, like building fishing piers or boat,
right.
You know, that's one that sticks out to me, to fixing a road, or somebody said jumbo shrimp skateboarding on a treadmill. I think Mark, all of them made that comment.
It's stuff not related to hunting and fishing in Minnesota. So if you want, that is just a huge, huge funding source for us, and it's not tax dollars, it's not volunteer dollars, it's not donations, it's people out there playing the lottery, and it's mandated to go towards the environment. So make sure you check that box this November.
Check the box.
Check the box. All right, we have Joe Henry coming up with the Lake of the Woods Fishing Report, of course, from Kentucky Lake. We've also got Brandon Hunter, who's a guide here and tournament angler here at Kentucky Lake. And we're going to talk to Kevin Paulson, the new executive director of AGLOW, from the AGLOW 2024 conference at Kentucky Lake here on Sporting Journal Radio.
Now is the time to start thinking about chasing big walleyes on Devil's Lake. Get on the fish at Haybale Heights Campground and Resort. Haybale Heights makes it easy for you to make memories on legendary Devil's Lake with guided fishing and lodging packages. Or bring your own boat and rent one of their cabins on East Bay. Haybale Heights offers a private marina, fish cleaning station, and the opportunity to relax and enjoy your bucket list trip to Devil's Lake, North Dakota. To book your trip, visit haybaleheights.com. That's haybaleheights.com. We want to tell you about a place to go for world-class walleye fishing, maybe some hunting, maybe some cast and blast opportunities. Check out Devil's Lake, North Dakota, where the walleye bite remains strong through the fall. Catch it all at Devil's Lake. Visit devilslakend.com to learn more and to plan your trip. All right, this is Sporting Journal Radio. Thanks for watching on YouTube or listening to this radio station. Or maybe, Joe, they were downloading it on Spotify or one of the many places they get podcasts.
I tell you, today's technological era, Brett, the way you put things out, it could be anywhere.
It could be anywhere, just like we could be anywhere. But we're at Kentucky Lake learning about all those places that you can consume outdoor content.
Yeah. What a beautiful place. You know, I always say, you know, wherever people live, a lot of people would never want to leave because they love it there and they think it's one of the best places on earth. And, you know, I can see this area is beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, it's neat.
Look at the water, look at the woods. I mean, there's if you're an outdoors person, Kentucky Lake, I can see why so many people love Kentucky Lake. I mean, it is really a neat area. You probably talked about this, but there was squirrel hunting today. I had a chance to go fishing with somebody, Doug Wynn, and he's into crappies, and we pulled crankbaits off of planer boards for crappies. And, you know, here I am from Lake of the Woods area. I come all the way down to Kentucky, and what's the first fish I catch? 15.5-inch sauger.
You brought it with you. It was just in your pocket.
No,
I got pictures the whole way down.
I got pictures of it, and I'll tell you, the colors on this sauger, it was one of those saugers that, you know, when you show it, it's really blotchy. It's got the dark spots, you know, but you could really tell it was a sauger. But that was kind of cool. And, you know, we got crappies, we got some drum, we got a little catfish. But again, just a different form of fishing, seeing another guide from another area, seeing the water. I mean, it's a reservoir system, you know, and it's just sometimes it's neat to get out. And I just came out of a seminar for AI, you know, artificial intelligence. And, you know, it's part of AGLOW is we talk about the networking. Yeah, you get outdoors a little bit and stuff. It's the education, it's sharpening your saw, it's making you a better professional.
There was a woodworking course?
Yeah, I know. I know.
So what did you learn in the AI? Because I miss it. We were out here recording this. I missed the AI seminar.
Just talking about, you know, ChatGPT and how there's a paid version. There's a free version. There's a paid version for $20. We talked about what you can do with that, how you can feed it information and make it smarter about what you're trying to get across, and how it'll spit more intelligent information out. We talked about the ethics of it. How much is too much? You know, not necessarily creating an article, but rather refining what you've already written. It could go on and on. It is the president of Google made the comment. He believes that AI is going to be more groundbreaking than electricity or.
Oh, I mean, to me, it's
the internet.
When you watch the Jetsons, you know, as a kid or whatever, and it's like, oh my, or, you know, any of those futuristic movies where you're talking to your wall and all of a sudden there's a cup of coffee that comes sliding out. I mean, you know, when you watch it, you're like, there's no way any of that's really possible. And just in the last year, the advancements that AI has made, it's honestly kind of scary. I'm not going to lie. Like I think people are going to be sitting on their couches having AI do everything for them pretty soon.
Yeah. So, but, you know, I think, you know, when you have AI create or refine some of your content, I should say, boy, you still have to really look it over because there are a lot of errors.
Oh, it's terrible. It's still bad.
But it does save a person time if you know how to use it. And, you know, even you know, creating article titles. Hey, listen, you know what? Here's my article title. Please give me 10 article titles that are similar. And boy, you know, every once in a while, hey, I like that word. I like that the way they use this, and I might refine my own title a little bit. But again, it's trying to make you better, saving your time. But it doesn't reinvent the wheel. Not at this point, it doesn't.
Well, not yet, thankfully. And it's nice at a place like this where you do have people that know a little bit more about it than us that we can talk to and learn about it. And Joe, right before that, we had the chance to sit down with Jason Seelock and Brandon Hunter, and that was kind of a fun conversation.
Oh, a very interesting conversation. You know, talking to people that are very in tune in the industry and talking to them about what their perspectives are from, you know, more of a nationwide perspective.
Right.
And that was interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Talking about forward-facing sonar, talking about media, talking about the industry. Is the outdoor industry down right now? Is it up? Are we seeing changes in crankbait sales because of forward-facing sonar?
Right.
I mean, just so many different topics we covered, but things that we talk about all the time. Wasn't it neat to bounce it off other people?
Well, and especially a guy like Jason who has, you know, he's got his finger on the pulse, you know, especially with Wired to Fish for 15 years up until very recently. You know, he's hearing from guys like us. He's hearing from brand manufacturers. He's hearing from everybody in the fishing industry about this or that or COVID or, you know, forward-facing sonar, whatever it is. So to be able to pick his brain was fun.
It was fun. Well, and I think the other thing, too, it affirms that some of the perceptions we had in our head weren't very far off, were they?
Yeah.
About where we think things are going and how people are even looking at things maybe incorrectly, right?
Well, I want to talk about Lake of the Woods, of course, too. Now, you're obviously a big part of AGLOW, and Lake of the Woods is a big part of AGLOW.
Yeah.
And so we're thankful for that, of course, but how's fishing up at Lake of the Woods right now? The people want to know, Joe.
Yeah. No, fishing's been on fire. I mean, I just did the fishing report, and I'll tell you, fishing is so good right now. And the cool thing about it is there's piles and piles of walleyes in different schools stacking up on the south shore of Lake of the Woods. So it makes it really neat that if you go out of one of the river resorts, there's a pile of fish right now in 25 to 30 feet of water out in front of the Lighthouse Gap. That's not very far out. In addition, there's more and more walleyes each week entering the Rainy River because there are shiners in the river. Is the fall run going full bore in the river? No, it's not. But I'll tell you, there's a pile of fish right out front. There's some fish in the river, and then there's piles of fish. I should say piles, there's schools, nice schools of fish, walleyes and saugers, all the way along that south shore. I can take you across Pine Island, over to the Morris Point Gap, over to Zipple Bay, over to Long Point. And then, of course, fishing on the edges of the structures like Archie's Reef and some of the different reefs out there. And then, and that's a lot of it's a jig bite too. I should mention that they're jigging with either a frozen emerald shiner. But one of the reports I saw from the guide says, "Oh, it doesn't matter. Using fatheads, we're catching all the walleyes and saugers we want." So the fish are biting really, really, really good. Big numbers of fish are being caught right now. With that being said, there's still some anglers pulling crankbaits, and there's still some anglers that are drifting with a bottom bouncer and a spinner and a night crawler. When you go to the Rainy River, yep, there's some sturgeon being caught. That season is going to switch from a catch season here real quick to a catch and release only. But either way, you're still fishing for sturgeon all year long into next spring. And then, of course, there's some smallmouth bass being caught in the river as well. Up at the northwest angle, the walleyes and saugers are biting. A lot of different places. Some are on the flats, some are on structure. But this is a time of year that people really get into the multi-species. The smallmouth, the muskie, certainly pike are always biting. And then crappies. There's some really big crappies to be had up in the Canadian side of Lake of the Woods. And the fall is a time where a lot of the anglers will go after crappies as well and try to find some of those bigger schools and catch some of those big fish.
Man, we had the chance to go up and see some of that Canadian side a little bit when we filmed with Joe up there. And that was the first time. I mean, I've been up around some of the Canadian cities on Lake of the Woods up on the north end and on the east end, but I'd never been right across from the angle like that before. That's a really neat area right there.
We don't want to, during the summer, our northwest angle guides, if you get a guide up at the angle, I would say maybe 80% of the trips, they'll actually take you into Ontario waters. It's just, there's 14,552 islands. The scenery is breathtaking. You hardly see another boat. You might see a couple other boats all day. There's so many spots to fish. They know where the fish are congregated. And you just don't have the traffic because on that east side of Lake of the Woods, you got a highway going up with some talons.
Right.
Where you're going in there's no population. So it's really quite remote.
Yeah, and a lot of history. So, I mean, is Joe Lauren doing those tours in the fall too?
He does, yeah. Joe Lauren does the lighthouse boat tours, but he does these history tours in the fall also. And, petroglyphs. Boy, wasn't that neat going up and seeing a Massacre Island and that big cross?
Well, you've been telling me about it for a long time, so it was nice to finally see it.
When you go on top of Massacre Island, they have a cross on top signifying where a lot of our explorers were massacred. But when you get up on top of that island, it's hard to see it from the water, but you can see all the islands in the area.
Yeah.
You're really kind of high.
It's neat.
Really neat,
All right, well, if people want to go up to the angle or maybe start fishing the Rainy or even just fish the lake, what should they do, Joe?
You know what? Best source of info is our website, and that is lakeofthewoodsmn.com.
If you want to catch a big walleye, go where the big walleyes are. Lake of the Woods is the walleye capital of the world, with a variety of resorts and lodging facilities offering full-service fishing. Lake of the Woods is also home to sturgeon, sauger, perch, trophy pike, muskie, smallmouth bass, burbot, and more. Plan your trip to Lake of the Woods today. Go to lakeofthewoodsmn.com. That's lakeofthewoodsmn.com. Starting at just $36,195, Tacoma is the number one selling midsize truck in America, selling more than Chevy Colorado and Ford Ranger combined. It's better than ever for the 24 model year, and it now tows up to 6,500 pounds and will get you where you need to go. And we have a deal for you. We'll get you $250 off the lowest advertised price plus an additional $500 off your trade-in. This is a great deal just for our listeners. You have to fill out the voucher, though, at invergrovetoyota.com/FHF. That's invergrovetoyota.com/FHF to claim your trade-in voucher today. All right, this is Sporting Journal Radio. Thanks for tuning in on the network by demand, downloading this wherever you get your favorite podcasts, or maybe you're watching this on YouTube. We're at Kentucky Lake right now. We're down here for the AGLOW conference, and we did some fishing on Kentucky Lake. I got introduced to this famous body of water by Brandon Hunter. Brandon, how you doing?
Good. Glad to be here.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for taking us out. Now, you grew up here, right?
Yeah, I've lived right here on Kentucky Lake my entire life, and born and raised right here, and just live right down the road actually from where we're at here. So, fished here. Started fishing as a kid, you know, crappie fishing, bluegill fishing, catfish, I grew up doing everything but bass fishing. Now I'm a bass only guy. That's all I do. So I was about 16, 17 years old before I actually started bass fishing, and started fishing some local tournaments and things like that, and then ended up getting hooked. So here we are several years later.
And you tournament fished for a while, right?
I did. I traveled all over the country fishing what was then the FLW Tour. Fished at the highest level there, and you know, I had a young family, had a little girl in 17, a little boy in 18, and I just, you know, I stepped back from that. And at the time, this lake was a really, I call it a top 5 lake in the country, and you know, it was easy to go out fishing and, you know, make some money doing it, guiding and doing electronics training, and now here we are. So
yeah, so you kind of transitioned that tournament career into a guiding career.
Yeah, so I was like I say, at the time I was fishing some tournaments, had some success here locally, and people started asking me, you know, will you take me fishing? Well, I don't really do that. I don't guide, so to speak, or do any electronics training or anything like that. And yeah, I was, you know, I didn't want to be gone from my family, and this lake being so good that I thought, you know, I can stay home and just kind of transition the following that I had built already. I just kind of rolled that into a guide business.
Sure.
Yeah.
Talk about your electronics training. What do you try to do there?
Yeah, so I actually work with one of the local electronics install shops here, and we do Garmin, Lowrance, Humminbird, all brands. And basically, customer comes in, they set up their electronics, and then we all know that the cost of these electronics is it's crazy nowadays. And what's a few $100 more with a guy, you know, for a few hours to show them how to use it? So that's basically what I do. I crawl in the boat. I do have brand specific stuff. We've got a team of guys actually that do different brands, but I work with Lowrance and Garmin, and basically get in the customer's boat and spend about 3 to 4 hours with them and fine tune them. Make sure that the customer has that confidence in knowing how to use it, and then apply it on the water.
All right, and we were in a pretty slick new boat today when we were out there on Kentucky Lake. Tell me about that.
Yeah, that's the new Vexus VXS 20. They actually just released that boat this year, so I actually work with the guys there at Vexus pretty close, and looking forward to many more years of working with them even closer here, you know, starting next year. So they've got a great line of product, aluminum boats, fiberglass boats. You know, they've been doing it for a long time, so I'm excited to be working with those guys for sure.
It's funny how when you travel, you know, the outdoor industry, you realize how small it is sometimes. When we're out here in Kentucky on Kentucky Lake talking about Vexus boats, and you were asking about Minnesota, I said, yeah, the boat shop that Dan has had to bring his boat into a couple of times as Vexus, and you knew exactly who it was.
Yeah, the dealer up there, Intune Marine, they do a great job up there, and you know, that's the cool thing about, like you say, it's such a small industry. Once you actually start meeting new people, and you know, a lot of people know a lot of the same folks, you know. So yeah, for sure. Well, we enjoy what we're doing here with AGLOW for that reason. We get to meet a lot of cool new people in the industry, and we get to fish, you know, bodies of water that you hear about, you know, that, you know, we wouldn't have had a chance to fish otherwise. And Kentucky Lake is one of those lakes we've heard about for a long time, and obviously it went through some down times there, and the Asian carp moved in, but that was not great for the fishery, but it was a couple of other reasons that caused things to go downhill a little bit. Yeah, you know, carp, anytime something like that happens, you know, we point fingers to, you know, whatever we think that caused the issue. And in this case, you know, our lake went through a bad cycle. You know, we had every lake, I've seen some of the best lakes in the country go through these cycles, and unfortunately we went through a cycle with Asian carp, and it was easy to point at the Asian carp and say, man, they ruined the lake, and don't get me wrong, they didn't help anything, but there was a combination of a lot of different things that affected this fishery, and number one being bad spawns, lack of vegetation, you know, carp eating up plankton and algae, and therefore your shad weren't surviving. So, you know, you put all that in a bucket, and it's a recipe for disaster, you know, for the next few years. And then luckily, as fast as it went away, it's coming back just as fast. So we're excited about it.
Yeah, today we had a good day when we were out there. By the time this airs, wasn't today, but when we're recording this, it was earlier today. And you know, I learned a little bit about the body of water, just how big it is. It's part of a river system. Obviously, there's a dam, so there's a lot of species of fish in here.
There's a lot of species of fish, game fish. I mean, there's, you know, with the new sonar technology, forward-facing sonar, I always tell people Kentucky Lake's probably one of the toughest lakes to learn that technology on, simply because there are so many species of fish in this lake, no doubt about it.
Yeah, we fish on kind of in an impoundment like that, and we've sat on fish like, why won't these fish bite? And it's definitely not the species we're targeting,
Right.
you know.
Yep.
So you see that all the time, and you'll also see similar bodies of water like this where they're flooded. So you'll have that deep river channel, you know, maybe in the middle, and then you'll have a lot of big stretches of shallow water, and that's what you have here as well.
Yeah, this is a man-made lake. You know, when they flooded, when they built Kentucky Dam and then flooded it, you know, there was a lot of old towns and there's still a lot of structure out there that's under the water. You know, that those fish will hang around different times of year. This, you know, we talked a little bit about it this morning. Fish will get around that structure, whether it be concrete or natural rock or stumps or whatever it be. They definitely hang around that stuff. The bass typically get around that stuff simply because that's what the bait's hanging around. The bait gets up around it. If it's a piece of wood, there's plankton on it and algae growing on it, and then therefore the bait fish get up on it, and then that puts the fish right up there behind them. So
yeah, you said at one point that we were fishing in an old city, basically, or old town.
Yeah, there's an old town out here not too far from us, the old town of Birmingham that was flooded. There's still old foundations and things out there for sure.
I thought we had to go to the Dakotas to start fishing around barns and foundations. It's a lot of the prairie lakes there flooded like that. Right. We always look for road beds and ditches. Yep. We were trolling one time in North Dakota. We were trolling along guardrails.
Oh wow!
From an old bridge that was underwater. Wow. So, but that being said, when you're running through some of that shallow water, you got to be a little careful out there.
Yeah. So Tennessee River, you know, it's. This lake fluctuates a lot. The entire Tennessee River don't. You go to like Gunnersville, if you'll notice, if you get up around Gunnersville, the homes are all built right on the water. Well, all of our homes are built up in the woods, and that's because the water fluctuates so much. You know, winter pool here is 354, summer pool is 359, so it's a 5-foot difference there. So definitely this time of year, actually about the 4th of July, TVA starts dropping that water, and you really got to start paying attention to where you're going out there, because, I mean, you literally could be in the river channel and just like that be in inches of water.
You know, these when they dam up these rivers and create these lakes, it obviously creates some great angling opportunities, but you are at the mercy of them and when they control those water levels.
No doubt about it. It goes back to kind of what we were talking about with the spawns. You know, we went through a few years of bad spawns there, and it was as simple as the bass move up, they spawn, oh, it's not summer pool yet, TVA drops it back down, and then those beds are high and dry, and there's the eggs laying up on the bank, and then you've got, that happens 2 or 3 years in a row, you have no fish in the lake. And that's kind of where we were for a few years. Fish are dying off of old age, tournament pressure, you know, summer tournaments, a lot of those fish aren't surviving, and then you get 2 or 3 years age class of fish where you have good spawns, and then they start coming back, and that's where we are here a few years later, and the lake is full of fish again. So
earlier in the year, fishing can be really, you know, you have different times of the year where fishing can be better than other times. We were fishing topwater out there today.
Yeah, so, you know, that's the cool thing about this lake is it's so versatile. You can do so many different things depending on the time of year, but probably my favorite time of year, just as any of us in the outdoors would agree, that the fall is the best time of year. To be outdoors. Not only the leaves are turning, but just those cool, crisp mornings, you know, getting out there and just to be able to get out on a body of water like this and just throw a topwater. I mean, it's a bass angler, you know, anybody will agree with that a topwater is the best way to catch them, no doubt about it. But there's a lot of different ways, different times of year to catch them, but probably my favorite time of year is this time of year, late summer leading into fall, when those fish are starting to transition. They get up on that shallow stuff and be able to go out there and walk a topwater around. I mean, that's some of the most fun you can have. That's where we found them today. Yep. We actually, you know, we had a little bit of cloud cover and some sun mix this morning, and the wind was kind of blowing a little while, and then it would slow down, and we were just covering water, and then ended up getting on one pretty good little stretch there and had us some fun for a little while. It's funny how that works because, well, first of all, we thought we were going to get stormed off today, off the lake. Forecast was calling for thunderstorms. They didn't materialize. In fact, I don't think we got any in the area today. I don't think it rained at all right here at all, but they were calling for storms pretty much all day today. Didn't have any of that.
It was calm. It was hot right away. It was bright. It was sunny. And we struggled. I mean, we didn't catch a fish for a little while. I don't know if it was the first hour or whatever it was. And then all of a sudden, boom, the clouds came in. The wind just picked up a little bit. And I don't know if we just moved into the fish or if it was a cloud cover or what it was, but it was like bang, bang, bang. We started finding them.
That's the cool thing about being on the water, as much as I am, is I get to see those fish change. And, we talked about it this morning. I don't know if it was so much the cloud cover or if and the wind coming in or if we just pulled up on that right stretch. But, if you get too many days like that in a row, and you can start putting something together, and then that's when you put a pattern together.
Right. And one thing that you look for, I asked you this when we were in the boat, is because I think I hooked into the first fish, whatever, and I asked you if that signaled, if anything clicked right away, and obviously you have to have a little bit more frequency to put together a pattern, but was there something there on that first fish that you said, hey, maybe this is where they are? Right.
Yeah, that we talked about it there. When you caught that, when that fish was up shallower than what we had been fishing. A lot of the places that I had fished had a little bit deeper water beside it. Well, that particular fish was up a little bit shallower water, and then every bite from then on was up a little bit shallower. So I think there was something to that. I was just looking a little bit. I was looking at some of those little bit different banks. I mean, you may not be able to visually look at it and see, that don't really look any different than that bank there, but I know just from history of, what kind of places we were fishing, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So there were some bars we were fishing, some flats and some shoreline, and you were also looking to see where there was some bait fish or some shad, right?
Yeah, so the shad this time of year, I mean, it's tricky because they're in it's that time of year where the water level is right, but the water temperature is not right. Water temperature is still 10 degrees above what it normally should be right now. Normally we've had cool enough nights that the water temperatures are in like the low 70s, but we're still looking at 80, 82 degrees right now. So that's the name of the game is picking those places apart and knowing when that weather's coming, it's going to change and get those fish active for the fall.
Well, let's talk about, for people that are back home right now, Minnesota, the Dakotas, Wisconsin, whatever, if they wanted to come down here and fish Kentucky Lake, do a lot of guys travel here just to fish it on their own, or would you probably recommend going with a guide at least the first time?
Yeah, a lot of people that go with me that are coming down here, I do a lot of tournament prep stuff, guys that are coming down fishing tournaments, and then I do a lot of just fun trips too. But I always recommend if a guy's taking a 4 or 5 day trip, to hire a guide, whether it's me or one of our other guides. You can get on the local tourism website there, and we've got all of our guides listed there, crappie guides, bass guides, panfish, whatever you're looking for. But I always recommend to hire a guide that first day and kind of just let us at least take you out and kind of show you places to steer away from, or there may be if the water's low, just extra caution of being careful out there, and whether it's so much about going and just putting them on a certain pattern that's working, but it's as much safety as it is anything. Yeah, for sure.
And that's what I was thinking about with the stumps and some of the shallow areas, and with the water levels going up and down. It's nice to have that local knowledge, at least to start with, when you come to a new body of water like this.
No doubt about it. No doubt.
For sure. All right, well, if somebody wants to come down here and jump in the boat with you, what should they do?
So you can get on my website, BrandonHunterFishing.com. I do the Instagram, Facebook. I've got a YouTube. I actually do a weekly fishing report throughout the year, kind of keep guys informed on what's going on down here on the lake. Just shoot me an email, info@BrandonHunterFishing.com.
All right, Brandon Hunter, thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And if you want trophy lake trout, northern pike fishing in a scenic northern Saskatchewan setting, go to Tasman Lake Lodge. Go to TasmanLake.com. It's not uncommon for guests to get both personal bests in categories of pike and lake trout while they're there. They're up there right now fishing the fall trout spawn. I'm very, very jealous about it. But book your trip at TasmanLake.com.
Hunting season will be here before you know it, and it's time to get ready for your next adventure with the OnX Hunt app. Whether you're traveling in search of roosters, elk, waterfowl, or looking to score on a whitetail close to home, OnX Hunt can help you be more successful this season. Route, plan, and navigate with private and public land boundaries, recent imagery, offline maps, and Minnesota-specific hunt layers. Download the Hunt app on the App Store or Google Play and join the millions of hunters that trust OnX Hunt.
If you want to come fish the Ontario waters of Guardian Eagle Resort, you can. Bring the family and fish for walleyes and pike on 75,000 acres of private water, and you can fly direct from Minneapolis right at the Anoka County Airport in Blaine and land right at the lodge. They got a concrete runway right at the lodge. You drop right down at the lake, and they take your
bags and stuff and bring them right to your cabin, and you just go in and have some food and go out and catch as many walleyes as you want to. Learn more at guardianeagle.com. This is Sporting Journal Radio. Thanks for tuning in on the network, wherever you get your favorite podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, wherever. Or maybe you're watching this on YouTube. We are outside the Kentucky Dam Village State Park, Resort State Park. It's a long name. It's a cool place. We're right on the shore of Kentucky Lake right here for the AGLOW Conference 2024 with, by the time this airs, the new Executive Director of AGLOW, Kevin Paulson.
Yeah, thank you for having me here today. It's this is just such a beautiful location. This is my first time at Kentucky Dam Lake. And Kentucky Dam Lake, Kentucky
Dam
Lake Dam, and it's actually just a beautiful place.
Yeah, it's cool for sure. Well, congratulations on the executive director position.
Thank you, thank you. It's when the opportunity came up to apply for this job, I really saw this opportunity as kind of a legacy position. Outdoor media has been near and dear to my heart for going on 20 years now. In the process of building Hunting Life and bringing young writers into my magazine and my website, this just gave me another opportunity to be able to continue to influence that world.
Talk about Hunting Life a little bit. What is that?
Sure. Hunting Life is kind of just a general, we started as a blog in 2007. And we started to build an outfitter directory with that, and kind of the bottom of that dropped out. And so we went through a recession, and outfitters just didn't have the money to be a part of a directory. And so we kind of pivoted to be a national news source for hunting and conservation. And about 4 years ago, we kind of started a digital magazine, and we've been growing that, every year since, and just kind of, being a part of the industry.
And that directory probably came out from your experiences running a guide business.
Yes. I owned an outfit in Idaho and Montana. And I sold that in 2006. My dad had passed away, and I just was like, I felt like I needed to be closer to my kids. And so when I sold my outfitting business, I bought huntinglife.com the very next day.
You've been a part of a lot of different writers' organizations, outdoor groups like AGLOW. What do you think sets AGLOW apart?
What sets AGLOW apart is that everybody inside of AGLOW is equal. You have the tourism groups that are here and a part of the organization. You have the corporate partners that are here and part of the organization. And you have the media people and the content creators that are a part of the organization. And everybody across the entire organization is treated equally. We all pay the same dues. We all have a voice at the table. There are tourism members on the board. There are corporate members on the board. There are media people on the board. And everybody has the same voice to grow the entire organization with unity, really.
Yeah, and it's kind of a perfect balance and a perfect marriage of all of those partners, isn't it? Because it allows you everything you need in the outdoor industry. Those are your basic elements that you need. You need to have a place to go. You need a story, or you need a story and then a place to go, write that story or learn about that story. And you need gear to do it with, and you need that communicator to tell that story.
Absolutely. You have to have those storytellers. You have to have locations to be able to go and hunt or go shooting or go fishing, and you have to have the gear that you need in order to make that actually accessible.
Yeah. All right. And there is something, I think, and I don't want to say anything, I don't want to say anything negative about any of the other groups, but I feel like there's really this energy with AGLOW right now that is really sort of elevating the group, and not even to compare it to other ones, but just overall, like the energy of this group is going out.
Yeah, I can't speak for other organizations. We've seen several that across the board, several have disappeared. We've seen less and less participation across the board. Outdoor writers as a whole have been kind of getting older, and at the same time, you have a lot of young content creators that are creating podcasts and YouTube and things like that. And those individuals tend to be not joiners. They tend to be kind of lone wolves. And I think what's unique about AGLOW is that they kind of embraced those individuals, and we're starting to get more of those young bucks coming into our organization. And I think we're going to work really, really hard to kind of recruit some of those young bucks into our organization so that, we can have them come in here and let them be a part of it. We got to see that last year at the Bemidji conference We had 13 young fishing guys, content creators, etc., that all came there under scholarship and got to participate and be a part of the organization.
Yeah, which was great, and it's neat to see, you know, younger people that are. It's a different world from when we were their age, and you had so much traditional media, print media, radio, television, and now that pie is so splintered into so many different places. And with the the digital landscapes is taking up so much of that pie now, and even that is splintered so much because so many people can have their own channel, have their own outlet. They're essentially their own media outlet, whether it's a YouTube or it's a blog or whatever it is. So
I know people who are creating amazing content on TikTok, and they have a tremendous audience, and they're out there storytelling just like I am. I mean, I'm storytelling on, you know, a blog, I'm storytelling in a magazine, you're storytelling on radio and podcasts. Like, it's everybody has their niche space. And what I like about AGLOW is that they're all welcome into the organization. They're all available to be here and be a part of it. And I know that we'll be able to make the case of, like, you know, I tell everybody, like, this organization is great. It costs $100 to join. Yeah. So if you're a content creator in this industry, you should be joining this organization. And I'll be able to tell you the why of what you're going to get for your $100. It's a very easy equation. The same is true for the corporate partners. The same is true for the Tourism Bureau. You know, what's really important for the tourism bureaus and for the corporations is, in order to be successful, you have to have belly-to-belly time with those content creators in order for them to kind of know you, understand your products, understand your messaging. And really, that's what AGLOW conference is all about, is that important belly-to-belly time where we're standing here.
Yeah, we're not dancing.
We got to actually have a soda together, have a beer, have whatever it happens to be, eat meals together,
Let's
break
be honest,
bread.
it's AGLOW. We're probably having a beer.
We're probably having a beer.
If you want.
But, you know, across the board, like, it's breaking bread and getting to share time and getting to know somebody that is going to move you and your career or your company or your location forward.
That's honestly exactly what it is. And you talk about what platform people are on. You know, we're trying to reach them on everything. You know, we do a TV show on broadcast television. We do a radio show on broadcast radio, but it's also a podcast. It's also a video on YouTube. We got 3 other YouTube channels. So we got
you're
TikTok,
on Facebook,
we got Instagram,
you're on Twitter,
Facebook.
you're on Instagram.
You have to hit everybody.
Yep.
And for people like, I don't do TikTok. I don't know TikTok as well as Dan does. But luckily for me, I can, hey Dan, what do I need to do for this TikTok thing? He's around all the time. I can bounce ideas off of him. But for people that don't have a Dan for TikTok, this conference and AGLOW in general allows you, you know, because we got members on all those spaces, it allows you to have that time, one-on-one time, to be able to say, well, gosh, this is, you know, how do I do this or whatever? Because there's a guy doing a YouTube, how to create your own YouTube channel seminar here today. There's, you know, people doing podcasts. And of course, we got writers and guys that have been writing outdoor stories forever. I mean, this organization's been around for 70 years, and I think some of these guys have been here for a good chunk of that 70 years. Like, the amount of not just the amount of communicative knowledge that they have, but the amount of outdoor knowledge some of these guys have from being in the outdoor space and talking to all the experts and guides and writing these stories. Just you know, you can learn a lot, but just listening to some of those stories is amazing.
Well, I just stepped out of a seminar learning from Real Avid, literally like how to clean an AR, and this is knowledge that I've never had before. And I had questions, and they were able to be answered in a very, like, you know, comforting way. And I'm like, oh, this is just amazing information. And so, you know, tomorrow we're gonna have a seminar on AI and how people can utilize that to do research to improve their writing or whatever they're gonna be doing. There's an editors roundtable tomorrow in which we have 5 different editors that are all gonna be sitting at the table. And we're gonna be talking about, like, how you can submit your content to them and get paid as a freelancer. Like, there's so many great opportunities to learn something at an event like this. You know, it's 4 days away from home. It's, you know, you get to come to great locations like this. We have fishing, we have, you know, some shooting, squirrel hunting today. There's some great opportunities out there, and it's just an enjoyable week to learn. And again, you get to have that important belly-to-belly time.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And this is what I always tell people. If you want to get into the industry, there's a lot of aspiring YouTubers out there, content creators, whatever they want to do. If you want to get into it, the number one question I get from people all the time is, hey man, how do I want to contact X brand, St. Croix rods, and I'll use them in my YouTube videos if they send me some. How do I get a hold of them? Well, it doesn't quite work exactly like that, but come into an organization like this, and Josh Lance is here. There's a guy that you need to talk to if you want to get into St. Croix. Like the movers and shakers in a lot of the outdoor space are either at the conference or we have 500 members. So there's a lot of people to bounce ideas off of and learn from and network with. And when Dan and I joined a few years back, that was the first thing that happened for us, is all of a sudden, there was somebody here that had a need. Hey, I need a guy to do a video on this product. Can you guys do that? Heck yeah, we can do that. Hey, we need somebody to do this and do this. And all of a sudden we had job offers coming all over the place because we had the ability to do something that somebody needed. So just the opportunity to get into a room, and you're not trying to knock down that door of figuring out who do I need to talk to about marketing. You're talking to them, and then you're doing it in a place that is made for that conversation. And it's you're not in an office somewhere in Minneapolis or wherever. The main office might be you're on a remote location, a destination like this. Everybody's relaxing. Maybe you're having a soda. Maybe you're having something a little stronger. Whatever the case is, but it creates those opportunities to network with the right people.
Absolutely. I survived through hunting life. My first 10 years was because of writer organizations, because I was able to create those one-on-one relationships with the brands, or I was able to feed off of getting to talk to somebody like a Jim Zumbo and say, hey, tell me what you do here. And he would say, well, as a writer, this is what I did. And he gave me that incredible advice. And there are plenty of guys that are in this room that are willing to share that advice with young content creators. Yeah. And I think that's really the secret sauce of this organization.
Absolutely. Well, what have you learned about Kentucky Lake that you didn't know?
I got to go out in Kentucky Lake today and do some fishing. And what I got to learn is that, they have really worked on the Asian carp situation. And so, we didn't have fish flying at our heads and things like that. We got to actually go out and go fish today. Really, what an incredible lake. Mm-hmm. I think it goes for 30, 40 miles.
At least.
And so that was incredibly impressive to get to kind of see some of that, to get to see this area, to get to see the beauty of this entire environment. It's impeccable.
It's neat country.
This is really not a very expensive place to travel in America either. And so I think that, people should consider taking a look at Kentucky Lake and coming down here. You have tremendous waterways, you have a lot of fishing, you have tremendous golfing here. There's incredible destinations with all of the distilleries up and down on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. This is a beautiful area, and we're 2 hours out of Nashville. So pretty easy to fly into. And you have that Nashville if you want to go be in a big city and have the excitement and fun of that. But you also have this beautiful area where you can come and relax. There are over 150 cabins here on the property.
This is a really cool place to stay.
You can rent very, very quickly. There's a lodge. There's a restaurant on site. It's just a fantastic place.
Our cabin is really nice. They've got a lodge more like a hotel style, but you can get a cabin in the woods. And the food here has been kind of amazing.
It's been fantastic. Yeah. We ate frog legs yesterday and catfish, and it was probably some of the best food I've had.
And I know some people out there are frog legs and catfish, and the wives of those people are probably nope, there's no way. If you would have fed me that frog leg yesterday and didn't tell me that's what it was, I would have thought it was a chicken wing.
Yeah, it's the best chicken wing ever had.
It was so good, and it looked just like it for the most part. It looked a little bit like a frog leg, but it looked like It looked like a drummy. And when you bit into it, it was like white meat in there. It looked just
fantastic.
It was delicious.
It was fantastic.
And, there's a lot of swimming opportunities like we saw from Pat Calmerton and Paul Johnson today. They went swimming off the pontoon while they're on their
there you go.
So.
We were just down here cooking squirrel down here in the pavilion.
Oh, yeah.
And, we did a squirrel hunt today, kind of a competition, and got to share kind of the camaraderie of being outdoors and doing a squirrel hunt here in the land between the lakes. And this area is really known for squirrel hunting with dogs, small little curs, and so we brought some squirrels back, and Brody Swisher came here as kind of a local legend in the local area, and came out here and cooked up the squirrel for everybody, and got to show how easy it was to skin them. And you know, squirrel to me is the one of the gateway drugs into hunting.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we all probably carried around a 410, like they used 410s today. The 410 I had when I started squirrel hunting was not the same as the 410s they had today.
See, we got squirrels here watching us.
Pew, pew, pew. All right. Well, Kevin, congratulations again on the gig, and thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, man.
Sporting Journal Radio is a division of Macaba LLC. If you've got a question, comment, or story idea for us, send us an email. Go to sportingjournalradio.com. While you're there, you can learn how to advertise on the show and visit our store for hats, hoodies, coffee mugs, and more. Go to sportingjournalradio.com.